Sublime magnificence.
Hey guys, you know who it is, what's happening, when it's going on, where it's at, and why we're here today. How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent Big Ugly himself, Omari Ellis Feo Grande on YouTube, back with another episode of This Guy Hasn't Seen, and as usual, I am joined by my co-host and running mate, one of my best friends in the world, El Director himself, Bill Smith.
Hey Omari, thank you for having me back as always. It's always wonderful to be here. Like I've said, one of my favorite things of the week to do, and we had a pillar of cinema history this week. I mentioned last week, either off camera or on, that I wanted to get back to kind of what we initially had thought of this being, of like these like cultural touch point, instead of like I dug a little too deep into
cultural touch point.
Bill's niche childhood memories vault, and I wanted to get back to like big cultural touch points, like we've talked about before, of like movies that make you go, you haven't seen.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of thing that we want to cover here. And so this one I feel like is a big one. Omari, you haven't seen Do the Right Thing?
So yeah, about that. Kind of like when I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, where you saw it and you were like, okay, I've seen stuff from this. I definitely saw it in the past for reasons we'll get into. It is not something I did a lot of rewatching, but things like, you know, you see Radio Raheem, and you're like, oh, okay. I remember Radio Raheem. I remember this, that, and the other. So it was good to see it again, because I had forgotten a lot as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy that I saw it again, because it's more like, instead of this guy hasn't seen, it's like this guy hasn't seen in like 30 years. This movie. And yeah, it was very, you picked it you picked it because you're like, it's topical because it's about a hot day, and some of the topics in that movie are really strong in today. And boy, do a lot of the topics in that movie is strong today. That's the thing with this movie. But yeah, yes, it's Do the Right Thing, the Spike Lee joint,
1989 on the hottest day of the year, on a street in the Bedford-Stuy section of Brooklyn. Everyone's hate and bigotry smolders and builds until it explodes into violence. This is, of course, written and directed by Spike Lee, and it stars Danny Aiello, Ozzie Davis, Ruby Dee, and so many other wonderful actors. So and we, pulling the curtain full back, we knew that this is a possibility.
Yeah.
That this would be one that you had started going and were like, okay, yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of this here and there. But like you said, this is more of a, yeah, this guy's seen, but has he watched? or like, yeah, he's seen it, but has he seen it?
Yeah, pretty much.
So what were you thinking going into, barring all of that in mind, what were you thinking going into it?
Because I didn't remember much until starting to see things on the screen. When I put down like what I was expecting, I was like, it's a Spike Lee joint, so I'm expecting education about racism in America. And because you had mentioned it had to do with a hot day,
the man has a lane.
I'm like, and because you mentioned it had something to do with a hot day in the pitch for it last week on air, I was like, oh, it's probably something about how blacks don't have air conditioning readily available, but whites do. impoverished black people versus, you know, rich white people. And that's kind of what I expected going in. And so someone's probably going to convince this rich Mr. Burns ass white dude to fucking do the right thing and provide for the black people. So yeah, something along those lines. Which, no, not exactly. But also not entirely wrong.
So, I believe yeah. I saw Spike speaking on something where he read somewhere years before making this film that some scientist did a study where he had determined that the murder rate rises exponentially above 94 degrees.
And so he made it the hottest day of the year.
And so he was like, I'm going to write a hottest day of the year film someday.
Yeah, and there's a Boondocks episode that where they talk about the heat makes people crazy, and near the end of it or so, people are losing their minds or whatever, and then once it starts raining, people start calming down or whatever. But yeah, so that whole, oh, it's hot? I'm hot too. I'm gonna fight whoever the fuck. I'm fucking heated. Let's go. That kind of mentality I can see as a more popular trope than you might think. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm not going to go too far on that. But yes, it happens a lot because there are other things that happens in as well. But yeah, so getting into it, initial reactions as the movie opens. As the movie's opening up and we see our little logos, there's Lift Every Voice and Sing playing. And I just typed Lift Every Voice and Sing. Definitely a race movie. And then like it cuts to old girl. I think it ends up being Tina.
Rosie Perez.
Yeah, Rosie Perez dancing, doing some aggressive ass 90s dancing at the beginning. I'm like, okay, I definitely wasn't expecting this, though Fight the Power being the song used was not that much of a surprise. Like me, and I love Spike Lee. Hell, I suggested Bamboozle. So before you people go out here like, oh, Omari is anti Spike Lee and race movies. No, I'm just pointing out a trope the man has. And so Fight the Power being the song right after Lift Every Voice and Sing in a Spike Lee movie just sounded appropriate to me. So it was, but I also looked at it as a cool time capsule as I saw the names in the fucking cast, as I saw her doing her fucking 90s ass, or I guess technically late 80s because it's 1989 as the song and movies point out. But
I love a great opening and I love a great sound cue, and this opening that you've mentioned, and it's a very quiet, subtle opening because everybody's going to immediately jump on Fight the Power and Rosie Perez. Mm-hmm. But you're right. Above the film logos is Lift Every Voice and Sing. And in that moment, you are getting the entirety of what this film, of what Spike Lee is talking about in this film, of the dichotomy and cooperation at times of the Martin Luther King aesthetic with the Malcolm aesthetic of the civil rights movement and mm-hmm. Fighting everything like that, and how, and with Lift Every Voice and Sing, very bright,
and it was the instrumental
beautiful
too. So it's like a fucking horn of some sort.
Much quieter in the music bed than what's about to come. And then the fucking record scratch into Chuck D is alarming, and I think 100% intentional.
Mm.
100%.
I like that you mentioned that as the dichotomy, especially looking at the themes of the movie as it plays out. That definitely is 100% intentional. And like you said, you almost miss the lift every voice and sing, especially because it's so calm and stuff. Which
Right. And you've got and then in a minute you have Rosie Perez in her first film role jumping out of the screen. Like a star is born in these opening credits. So it is very easy to miss that moment. But so it's really cool that you caught it.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, great time capsule as well. As we get to the early part of the movie, I'm like, damn, Martin Lawrence looks young as fuck. So and so, and then you see fucking Samuel L. Jackson, Mr. Senior Love Daddy, as our radio host / narrator for the movie.
Yeah.
Which there's another movie where they did something like that back in the day, where there's
been a few. There was kind of like a little bit of a late 70s, early 80s thing. I mean, I can think of The Warriors.
Okay,
is that an Omari has seen?
Come out and play.
Yeah,
I've seen the scene. That's about it.
You've seen that scene.
Yeah, the Mimi scene, like, but not the whole movie.
All right. Tune in to Feo Grande's YouTube channel.
eventually, right? But yeah, it starts off, and we get Spike Lee was playing Mookie, right? Him himself, I think that's what it said in the credits.
Yes, yeah. That's Spike.
Yeah, we got Spike Lee rolling over or going up to someone in their bed and sticking his finger in her mouth and shit. And then it turns out that's his sister, and I was like, I would not have guessed that with the way this scene opened. I never went up to my sisters while they were sleeping and just started shoving my finger in their mouth and shit and breathing on them. Not happened. So that was weird, but you get over it real quick. They got their own relationship. They clearly, you could easily, the second it does that, it recontextualizes everything. Okay, he's just trying to annoy her.
Yeah.
So, okay. There are people out there that gave each other wet willies and shit. So, I get it. Yeah. Anyway, and then just seeing some of the characters early on.
Right, the beginning of the movie is laying out all of the players in the game.
You got mother, sister, you got the mayor, you got the Italian characters. My first typing about them was these Italian characters are funny because they were about the most forget about it New York Italians that you can see, and a lot of people are caricatures in this movie, which is also part of the whole point. So I'm just like, oh yeah, they look, oh, they're getting pizza, Sal, it's awesome.
Yeah, I've seen this movie several times. I know I watched it with a kid as a kid, maybe 12, 13. I have a memory of my mother being like, you should watch this, and we sat down and watched it, kind of thing.
Which is how I know I've watched it. Because my mom definitely, if your mom is saying you should watch this, my mom, who I said, can I have some comic books like X-Men and Spider-Man? She brought back Black Panther, Steel, and Static. She definitely, I saw this movie.
And then I think at some point in a class in high school, I think we may have watched this, and then maybe one other time, randomly. But this time, what really stood out to me was the ensemble of actors and the quality, just the overall bar of work that's going on here. So you already ran through them by character name, a lot of them. I'll just run through Sal, the owner of the pizzeria, Danny Aiello, Ozzie Davis is the mayor. Ruby Dee is Mother's sister. Richard Edson is Vito, the younger of the brothers. John Turturro is Pino, the older brother.
He's in a lot of
like
shit
you
too.
said. Mookie is Spike Lee. Bill Nunn is Radio Raheem. I mean, I could keep scrolling down this list. The one that fucking shocked me, because I've never thought about it, and because he's so different in the roles that he's famous for now, but bugging out is Giancarlo Esposito.
I saw his name in the opening credits, and I'm like, he's in this movie? And then bugging out, he just looked familiar, and I never placed who it was until you just said it. And I'm like, oh shit, that's why he looks so familiar. That's crazy. Gus from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, he's incredible in this film, and because everything from Breaking Bad forward is him basically doing Breaking Bad. I'm sure it's like people calling him up and being like, "Hey, can you do the Breaking Bad thing?"
Yeah, we need a Giancarlo Esposito type person. Yeah. So we figure, why not get the man himself?
We need a slow, menacing, smart guy. Yeah. But
hey, get your money.
Right? No, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that was absolutely shocking. Roger Guinevere Smith is who plays Smiley, and he's like a Broadway legend, like an absolute Broadway legend. Like, this entire cast from top to bottom is just absolutely,
yeah, it's a damn good cast.
Stacked.
I agree.
It's absolutely
stacked. That's a better way to put it. It's stacked.
Rosie Perez is her very first film. And we're about ready to make a career actress who's going to get nominated for an Oscar for White Men Can't Jump in just a few years. Like, it's insane. Samuel Jackson in like a tiny little part. He probably filmed all his stuff in a day.
I can see that. Yeah, actually, I could see that nowadays. Huh. Anyway, yeah, he filmed all the stuff in a day. That's cool. Or probably, or maybe is there more? Who knows? But yeah, so the movie's getting started, and it's cool. I'm seeing like a lot of things and noticing, fun stuff. I thought it was funny with the old dudes talking about climate change, and one of them using a line, "Dude, you about 30 cents away from having a quarter." Like, what kind of money you got? I'm like, oh, I like that line.
Man, I love those three dudes. That's what I'm saying. Like, the smallest part in the film, and they're incredible. Like, they feel like completely baked in real characters that just exist on that corner that they happen to film.
ML, Sweet Dick Willie, and somebody else that names escapes me.
Sweet Dick Willie.
Why they call you Sweet Dick? What kind of parents name you that? But yeah, and mixing in with like standout moments and stuff. Obviously, we have our inciting incident, kind of the thing that pretty much sets up what the climax is going to be. Bugging out or Giancarlo at the Italian restaurant. Hey, how come you ain't got no brothers on this wall? Because he's in the Italian restaurant, and in the Italian restaurant on the Wall of Fame is a bunch of Italian American people. To which Sal's just like, hey, it's my restaurant.
You get a place, you put brothers on the wall. Yeah. My place, I put Italian Americans on the wall.
I got right Italian Americans here. But you eating up all our money, you should put some of our people on the wall. And I get the argument to a degree, but controversial opinion, I think it's entirely in Sal's right to only have Italian Americans up on the wall in the Italian American restaurant, especially when he didn't come out and be like, because he's not like his son Pino, who, Jesus Christ, as the movie goes, he just gets more and more racist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's um yeah, it's what were we about to say about Danny Aiello?
I like Sal.
Yeah, no, yeah, I love no, I was gonna say you can support Sal's decision for not for only wanting Italian Americans on the wall and for people to not be playing music when they come into his restaurant, and also not like the final events of the film. Like like you can also have a problem with what happens with the police.
Well,
You know,
yes,
like those two things can coexist.
I don't think
Absolutely.
I don't think the police are Sal. And when we get to that scene, I also
Right.
don't think.
It's
I know you're
this-
supposed to side with the town. With
Well, that's the
everything
thing
that
is, I don't
happens.
think you're supposed to like that's kind of the beauty of this movie is it doesn't do anything that you're supposed. It doesn't wrap anything up.
He points at the main character early on and goes, "Do the right thing." And when it comes down to it, the thing the main character does is throw the trash can through the window and start the riot. So that could be interpreted because he does some thinking as he looks at the situation. And personally, we'll just jump around. Personally, I thought in that moment, oh, he's gonna do the right thing. He's gonna join the mayor in diffusing the situation because the mayor is like, Sal ain't the police. Like, y'all taking this out on the wrong guy. And I thought him looking at that and stuff, his doing the right thing was that, but it looked like his doing the right thing moment was, fuck it, we riot. And so that's what I took it as, like, that's the right thing to do. And given how real life has transpired since, I think a lot of people took it that way. But when the problem was the police and that. But I did like that at the very least the next day, to your point about everything wrapping up, they had that argument where Sal's like, what the fuck do you want me to do?
I mean, I just meant that as in like nobody, like we don't know what the right thing was. And I think Spike Lee is saying he doesn't know. And I think that the mayor is saying do the right thing and Mookie disobeys that. I think do the right thing was, if you're going to say the mayor is premonitioned and in the story in some ways, I think that is, you can be the one that diffuses this. I think that. Okay. I don't know. I have not heard Spike speak on what the right thing was.
Mm-hmm.
I can say that Spike has spoken on Mookie's reasoning, because a lot of people have said, no, Mookie did it. It's a calculated thing. Like he did it so there would so the crowd would destroy property and not people. And Spike has come out and said, no, Mookie threw the trash can through the window because he just saw one of his best friends be murdered and he blamed Sal. And so it was a malicious action of throwing the trash can through the glass. So there's no hero to the story in this movie. Like, who would you say the protagonist is? Is it Mookie? Or is it Sal?
I assumed it was Mookie.
Sal's a very heavily featured character in this film.
He is, but I wouldn't have considered him the protagonist. But that, I get it, though. You do make a good argument that it could be, but to answer your question, I just looked at it through the whole, this is Mookie's movie, okay?
This is Mookie's movie, yeah. I was just theorizing, like,
yeah.
You know,
But I do get your point about the ambiguity being there.
There's
just
also, I feel like there's also, I can't take full credit for it because I've seen, I've heard a couple of things of Spike Lee talking about this film of recent days, and to for it all to go in here and spit it back out, I'm sure I'm paraphrasing some things, but there's also a level to him having us invest emotionally in the Valcano family and Sal specifically to kind of in the end of the film are you're asking yourself, so what are you valuing more? What are you upset about more? The loss of the human life or the loss of property, kind of thing. Have I gotten you to emotionally invest in this pizzeria so much that you're now emotionally responding to it harder than the loss of human life that just occurred moments ago? And I think, and again, these are questions that I think he's posing that I don't know if he has answers to. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I like the idea of it.
I just hate the whole two things can't be true approach to it. Like, it can be very terrible that Radio Raheem died, because it was. Same time, dude's restaurant being burned down, and it wasn't like it was just some white dude who just moved in trying to gentrify the area. Fuck all these blacks, this is where I'm setting up shop type shit. He said he had been there 25 years. He had seen people growing up. He had planned to be there pretty much till he died. He's like, I'll be here another 50, even when other people are telling him
incredible.
To move out.
I almost cried. His speech about feeding, like, these I have fed these people. Yeah. I have raised these people with my food, and he got so emotional about it. It was powerful.
But for him to like water all down as like, if you're upset about this, you're not upset about the human life that just lost. You're upset about mere property. I'm like, yes and no, but I feel like both things can be true. I think you could be upset about both things happening. And that's just me. But I've always been weird.
I think you can. And I think I was. And I think, I think the movie is designed for that to happen. But I guess it's a because the newspapers, I think the statement is in focus too, because tomorrow's newspapers in July whatever in 1989 is going to be about a long-standing pizzeria being burned down, you know, and the mayor is going to come visit the community because yes, things can tragically happen, but we should never destroy property. Is the news anchor's line as the film is wrapping up.
I missed the line, but yeah. So
they're talking about how either the mayor or the special sheriff or somebody is going to be opening a special investigation kind of thing.
Fair.
So I think that's kind of the thing of like, and well,
in that case, it really sounds like we're the bad guys for feeling bad about the thing burning down when he throws in a line like that.
I mean, we're not the bad guys for feeling bad about it burning down. I don't, like I said, I don't. We're not the bad guys. The movie wants us to feel bad about the pizzeria burning down. It's more of just because we've experienced it here in St. Louis. I say St. Louis, but I'm Florissant, Missouri. Yeah. I'm 5 minutes away from everything that happened with Michael Brown.
Ferguson, Florissant School District
is where I grew up.
Same.
And so it's.
I've been saying straight out of Ferguson ever since.
Well, we talked about off camera how you're losing all of your Ferguson. You're
What are you
St. Louis
talking
points.
about?
You're a Florida man now. You're a Florida man.
No, not a Florida man. But anyway, so like,
but yeah, so it's just, I mean, this movie can go deep as fuck,
yeah,
or it can be just surface level, hot day, tensions boil, bad shit happens,
yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, but yeah, there were a lot of crazy things in the movie. I did think it was crazy that the restaurant was using payphones to call, like when they received calls for delivery.
That's weird. I mean, yeah, like what actors will call business, like you got hand business, like you need something to do with your hands,
yeah,
something like that. The family Sal,
yeah,
has to be doing pizza business with their hands, and it is the worst shit ever. Oh my god, there is a moment. I mean, and like these men were incredible in this film, but there are a few moments for each of them. Like John Turturro, one time he's like. Really, it's Sal and Mookie talking, I believe, if I play the scene back in my head. And it's one of those scenes where Pino's just kind of piping in every once in a while because he doesn't like how Mookie talks to Sal or whatever, or how Sal is talking to Mookie. And while John Turturro is doing that, he's got to pull a pizza out of the oven, throw it in the box, cut the pizza, and then close the box. And you would have thought John Turturro not only had never cut a pizza before, but didn't know what a pizza was or how a pizza cutter operated. Because it was so, like, I don't know how I never noticed it before, but he like is about ready to dive right in, and he like stutter stops and bails and pulls his hand back, and he's like, no. And then he kind of false starts a couple more times, and then decides, you know what? No, I'm going to ghost cut the pizza. And so he's hovering about an inch above the pizza, and he just goes like, huh? Box closed. And it's just a nitpicky thing, I just have, and normally you would never even see it because the action is like with Mookie and Sal, and but I happen to be glancing down at his hands right at that moment, and it's the silliest thing. And then another one is when Sal is talking to somebody, and I don't remember who he's talking to, but the entire time he's prepping a pizza dough, and he just keeps reaching in and grabbing flour and dusting the pizza with the flour to the point by the end of the conversation it's just a giant pile of flour.
I remember seeing that too, like, wow, he's just
yeah, like none of these men even they were concentrating on Spike Lee's dialogue. No one at any point was like, and here's how you make a pizza. Also, all of the pizza looked like shit.
It's supposed to be the best pizza in town.
It looked awful.
I grew up on those slices.
The pizza looked awful.
Yeah, I will say
maybe it was life-changing.
I will say that up until the end, at least, one thing I liked was that when dude was walking around with his idea to boycott for not having black people on the wall, I am happy that it wasn't a bigger movement growing because of it. Like, a lot of the people were like, hey, judgment of his actions and characters, not this one thing that you just so happen to be like whatever. Like Sal's like, even though like the three old dudes, they're like, boy, Sal ain't done nothing to nobody. He cool. Get out of here. He ain't boycotting shit. And I'm like, hey, people like, because that also helps paint Sal in the more authentic light that no, he was serious. Like he's just been nothing but he just treated them like people the whole movie or his whole life. He's just part of the neighborhood at this point.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think if you're going to be hypercritical, one can say he raised and continuously allows Pino to exist the way he does.
Yeah.
And that's gotta come from somewhere. And he doesn't ever really tell him to not.
Well, he did. He told him. He keeps saying, hey, don't talk like that numerous times. And even when Pino starts talking about, like, hey, my friends and stuff, they make fun of me and stuff. He's like, anyone that's making fun of you is not your friends. And it was part of the whole, like, Pino telling them that they should move. He's like, we're not moving anywhere. It was like,
right, no, but I mean, just like he's
like, yeah, some of them don't like us, but that's general, not everybody.
Like I don't know. His in general way that he talks about the clientele and Mookie, like the way he talks to Mookie to his face and the clientele when there's nobody in the shop. The way he talks about the clientele when nobody's in the shop. Sal is rarely like, no, you shouldn't talk about those people. Like
I thought you were saying Sal's talking about the people like that. I'm like, when does Sal go that hard?
No, I'm saying that's all I'm saying. I'm saying, like, if you're going to be hypercritical, he never shuts that shit down from his son, and his son got it somewhere. I'm not saying that Sal's to blame entirely, but he's also his boss. We never see him really shut that shit down except for that one conversation where he's like, I love these people, I fed these people, but otherwise he just kind of lets Pino call these people whatever the fuck Pino wants to call them, and lets him call Mookie shit right to his face, and he's only ever like, both of you shut up. It's so there is a like I don't know, it's interesting, and that's the whole thing about this movie is like you said, dichotomies. Danny Aiello would say that Sal is not a racist. The writer and director of Sal, Spike Lee, says that Sal is a racist.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Spike Lee says he's a racist. He's racist.
He's the creator of the character. But that could also be Sal speaking through, or that could also be Spike Lee kind of speaking through the mouth of Mookie, the character, in a way. Like, I'm Mookie.
He wrote he's speaking through the mouth of Spike Lee. It's fine.
I mean, I don't. You can't say it defiantly. It could be him speaking through Mookie.
I mean,
it could be him living through Mookie.
We've also touched on Spike Lee's MO, know, a couple of times. So, dude's racist.
I mean, we don't know what past Spike Lee maybe has in his head for Sal that's not on the page. And like we said, like you said, we know in his most heated moments, he will use language that is not appropriate. In his most heated moments, is that anything to cause a pizzeria to be burned down? No. But like those, like these are I'm listing. I'm working for you, Omari. I'm working with you, Omari.
The most heated moment he said something.
I'm listing the facts of I'm listing the facts that we have in front of us.
Yeah. No, and
for Spike's claim that Sal is a racist, and that
agree.
is strictly him using a word. He only uses it once, I believe. in the most heated moments
at the end, and that is one thing I just want to talk about.
And you can argue the shit about his son. I think that's literally the only representation we have in the film.
Yes. So on the whole most heated moment thing, because I think we see a lot of this in real life as well, where something said when pushed and agitated by people, and something said in the moment like that completely invalidates any other actions you take in your entire life.
It's kind of crazy how much it looks like a cell phone video getting filmed on him too, right?
Yeah.
Like in such a weird fucking premise. Like not only is this entire ending of this movie an insane premonitic, but I mean, although it's not, because this is almost a documentary about shit that was happening in Brooklyn in the 80s.
Yeah.
Already. Spike is just bringing it to film. But unfortunately, it continues to happen to just a couple of years ago. Yeah, not only that, but yeah, like when I replay that moment in my head when Sal has finally had enough and he's got the bat and it's a like a down angled shot at him, but it's really tight and it's almost as if it's like a POV cell phone camera like you see of a Karen or a Ken going off.
Yeah.
I guess not Ken anymore.
Oh, is it Ken?
Now that
Ken's
I feel like it was
Karen name.
I feel like it was Ken before Barbie, but now Barbie has happened and Ken is a whole other thing.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. Maybe it wasn't Ken. Maybe it was Kyle. It was something like that. You know, like like a super white name.
Yeah.
But no, sorry, I interrupted you. But yeah, you were saying
no, that's a thing that happens in real life where it's like, oh hey, do this, and I don't think using a word against somebody in a particular moment who is clearly in a confrontational thing with you and yelling similar things at you, I don't think that means you hate everybody that is associated with that person of the same background, of the same culture, because you were mad in that one moment. However, society has taken it to mean just that. Oh, you got mad at this one situation, so I don't care about anything you've ever done. No. And saying that you have friends is considered to be a confirmation of racism, which I think is one of the dumbest things. It's like, oh, yeah, let me guess, you're not racist, you got black friends. But I do, though.
Nope.
You still there?
You're back on me, but it blanked for a minute.
Okay. But like the whole defending the fact, like when you try to say that you have friends or you try to bring up the stuff you did, that's just seen to people now as a confirmation that you are indeed racist. It's like, oh, I'm not racist. I've done money this. Oh, let me guess, you got a lot of black friends. But I do, though. That should still count towards something. That shouldn't just be, oh, that's a confirmation that you're racist. Oh, he said I'm not racist, I have black friends. The trademark comment from a racist.
And I'm just playing. We're just dialoguing here. What have I done to be accused of being racist? Because I'm not just being walked up on the street and being pointed at and saying you're racist.
Right now, you missed the whole thing I was going off about. So this is
using
connected. A word.
I got angry. I got angry, and I said the N-word.
Yeah, or other words too, but let's say N-word in this moment since I went with race.
Right.
And the movie's about race. Suddenly, nothing else that I have said before or any actions I take in the future for that matter are going to get rid of that whole racist claim. That's how it is in real life. That's how it is in this movie. And it's just it's one of those things where I'm like,
I don't know if anybody. I can't think of a single person who's been successfully canceled.
I didn't use the word canceled, did I?
I mean, I'm just saying.
I just said they're racist. They're seen as racist every time their name gets brought up.
Well, you said, and their reaction is that they're.
Yeah, that they're now a racist. Every time they will never shake the racism claims. Like because of that one use of the instance.
Well, I mean,
because
I provide my opinion as a white man who may have no dog in this fight, but I will provide my opinion that as a white person, you can absolutely exist in this world with that word not being in your vocabulary. And I don't fucking care how pissed off you got. I don't care how pissed off I got. That word is just never coming out of my mouth because it has never been in my vocabulary. So I would have to really, really, like you said, really hard think about what I was about to say and like what word could possibly hurt this person the most and make them pissed at me the most. Okay, I'll use this word. And I can't even imagine that I would ever even go to that.
When you're
and in my opinion,
you're not going to put
anybody
that much thought into it.
Okay. Is racist.
All right, it's okay. I've been trying to shake the fucking race traitor allegation since I was a kid. I'm still it's not happening anytime now. It's not happening anytime now.
Put it in the title. We'll get clicks.
But yeah, like I said,
it's not. I don't think it's you being a race traitor.
My whole life.
I absolutely don't think that.
You're fucking racist. Sorry about anything else you've ever done in your life and all the non-racist things you may done or feel about things. You
can still do good things, and there is okay. So you are racist, but I'm not saying that you are then racist forever. But if you were able to bring yourself to that word while also knowing that that is a culturally inappropriate word and a demonizing, it is a dehumanizing word in the context that you are using it in that moment, if you are able to take yourself there, then there is no doubt without a shadow that there is pieces of you currently that are racist, and you need to work on those pieces. You need to go away and you need to examine those pieces of you and figure it the fuck out and present yourself as a new person if you want to be a public person and not be the person who immediately gets called, oh, you're right. Oh, that's the racist. It doesn't matter.
If you do anything to even show that you're making growth, well,
name one person. Because you keep using these hypothetical people. You keep using these hypothetical people that are made up people in your head. Name a real person that is an example of this.
They're all racist. There's no point.
See, you're not naming a real person. Does this ever really happen to people? This is why I use the same thing. This is why I use the word canceling.
No, cancel culture is not a thing. It doesn't exist, and I never said it did.
But it's the same thing. It's the same thing you're saying. People always go on these rants of like, well, everybody's getting canceled, which is exactly what you're saying in the form of like just but take out the word cancel and put racist. But it's not actually fucking happening. Nobody is getting canceled. One person may lose one job at one point and then they go get more jobs. Like, who the fuck is getting canceled? Who is living the rest of their life after saying the N-word once and always getting called a racist? Fucking Kramer isn't. Kramer has made it past it.
No, he had a
hard...
He wasn't canceled or anything, but
he's absolutely. I mean, he's not Kramer anymore. But fucking nobody. Jerry ain't Jerry no more. Like George ain't George no more.
I'm not saying he has to be Kramer every time, but he's never in anything. And that's fine. He deserves it. But he had his moment. He should not have said all that stuff. Nor do I know anything about his life before or after, nor has he made any efforts to shake the claim.
Yes, he has. That's what I'm saying. You're just not looking at it. Yes, he has. And he has done things, and he has addressed things. And and he has been in things where they have allowed him to question him about it.
Only thing I ever hear when people bring up Kramer's name, unless they're talking about the episode of Seinfeld they're watching or their favorite episode of Seinfeld, is with racists behind it. And I just assumed it's because he never tried to fucking fix the image. Because again, like I said, he absolutely made an effort, but you had to seek it out. He was also old, to be fair, you had to seek it out. And as we're talking about it, he's the first. He was the first one that was caught on a cell phone video when the Venn diagram of like mobile video and uploading to web platforms like finally collided, and you could do something like you were saying in a moment of not representing your full character as a person, and it get thrown up online. All I'm saying is that that's never gonna fucking happen to me, because it's not going to happen to me, because that bone ain't in my body. And so if that happens to you, that means that bone is in your body and you need to get that bone looked at. Is the only thing that I was saying about that argument. But they don't got bone transplants, so that bone is stuck with you.
I mean, if you want to look at it like that, but then if that's your viewpoint, then a person can't change.
Well, and that's my argument, is that's everyone's argument.
You're going to say the metaphorical person that you're like.
My argument is that
because you always go to these insane extremes.
Because that's what I'm surrounded with, is the extremes. That's all I see is the shit. Oh, well, maybe I should stay off Twitter and all that shit. But that's
you should absolutely be off of Twitter.
But you should absolutely be off Twitter
because 70% of those aren't even people. They're just computers.
No, I'm not
made to argue with each other.
No, they're people, and I have friends,
like in comment sections.
I have friends that are very, hey, one thing happened, and now you better not bring up anything about this person to me, and that's all I'm saying. I've seen the extremes, and I see the extremes often. That's why I try to stay out of like things for the most part. But like I said, I unfortunately, whatever. Bottom line is, I
think Spike Lee would love this.
No, I don't know. Spike Lee would not like me here defending Sal. No,
I think he would. No, because he wrote Sal. He wrote Sal for 90% of the movie for you to love him. He wrote Sal for you to love him for 90% of the film.
He's even come out, and said the motherfucker's racist.
Well, I mean,
and if that's the verdict, that's what he meant. You're not supposed to like racist.
Like I told you, I agree with him, but that doesn't mean that you can't like him.
Yeah,
and that doesn't mean that it's I don't know. That doesn't automatically mean that he's a member of the Ku Klux Klan. Like that's another thing. Like when you call somebody a racist, I don't know. It doesn't it's more like. You have but you don't need to be polite with people in this context. Just tell them what it is, and they need to get it fixed because it's a fucking problem. But it's not like it's hard because people hear that you're racist and they just think like you're calling them a KKK member, and it's not like it's what I was telling you. It's like if you're able to go to that place, then you have racist tendencies. Yeah. You may not be a racist. Sal is a wonderful member of the community for the day that we see. For the one day of this man's life that we see, he is a wonderful member of the community.
Well, which is why I say that with the writer saying he's racist, it's saying ignore that one, because to your point that it is only for the one day that we see him being nice. Maybe that one day is against the norm, and he's
But
letting
that's all
you know.
what ifs.
He's letting you
Yeah.
know, kind of like your point about the way Pino was raised. He's raised that way because Sal taught him to be that way. Because Sal is another person like him, and we just see a facade for the movie.
Like he, you know, you get the impression that it's a family business, that Pino's going there to work with dad almost every fucking day of the week. Like what? And he's just where is Pino getting this developed attitude from? Fox News doesn't exist yet.
Well, and that's why I say I went to the whole him talking about his friends mocking him and shit like that. Because while we can say, you know, it takes a racist to raise a racist, his other son, not the same.
That's
his
true.
Other son's cool with Mookie because his friend is Mookie. His friend is said black person, so he's cool with that. Pino's friends,
he's also just kind of a dummy.
Racist. Well,
he may just be
he
may just be stupid, too stupid to
not being racist.
He's I think he's just a little too stupid to really get what's going on on a deep level.
but I also think sometimes said stupidity or ignorance is something we should have, is more and more people who don't think it's a big deal that there are other races or know about the concept of, because like, yes, know your history, know things were bad in the past. I live in Florida now. Trust me, I understand the importance of actually teaching things right, considering what they're trying to do down here. That said, at the same time, I see
Missouri's just like a wannabe Florida, so I'm not doing any better. We're just sitting here like watching Florida, and then we're like, all right, 6 months later, do that.
Oh my
all right, 6 months later, do that. So you know, it's just like we're all fucking gonna die.
But, yeah. So I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, but at the same time, I feel like there's gotta be a point to where I think the only way we get to a point to where we don't have people telling you, hey, that other side hates you because blank. And usually blank being the color of your skin and things associated with the color of your skin, is having kids not predisposed completely to, hey, that person hates you, you know, treat them with caution, don't fucking go near them, when you, especially if you don't know them, like to assume the worst out of people. Like on both sides, this is taught, to assume the worst by people who basing it on their own life experiences with the few that they've met from the other side. But because they're told at a young age, hey, this is what to look at, if they're already on edge when they see you, and if that first encounter or second or third, especially if they stack the first few encounters, ain't stellar, rather than it just being like you're starting at neutral and then you're starting at like here and then dropping further. You know what I mean? Where you can't let your own, you give them a lens to look at life through. And
one of our biggest hurdles all the time is the 5% on either side, on the farthest end of both extremes, that prevent the 90% of us to be able to figure some shit out. Maybe it's 10% over on the bad side.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and claim that, but yeah, it's always those two polar opposites that don't, like, the
vocal majority. Oh, sorry, the vocal minority.
The vocal minority. They're always going to get in the way for true progress of any kind. It's also weird. Speaking of things in the terms of a negotiation on things like
I don't know how to negotiate. Well, the only thing is, I don't know.
well, I don't know. I think that's how I was kind of
Yeah.
starting to lay it out
Gotcha.
in
Yeah,
my thing, and I
yeah.
was like, let's steer away from
Yeah.
that because like we're not negotiating about civil rights here.
Yeah. No.
Like there is no negotiating. It's yes or no.
Right.
It's
Civil rights is
It's
yes
a
or
true
no.
or false.
Yeah, I'm not talking about civil rights, just the whole
Right.
racism, like, I hate you because black, white, Asian, Puerto Rican, or Hispanic.
And that's what I'm saying. Like Spike would like this conversation because I feel like that's what this movie is asking to do. Is it's because it doesn't end easy. It ends complicated and messy and fucked up. And like the old Italian guy that you loved is he said the N-word and smashed up one of the cool characters' boomboxes, and then that cool character fucking got killed by the police. And then your other main character that you like just betrayed the guy who called him a father or who called him a son.
Which,
Like,
yeah.
like and who knows
Like I
if
said,
that's
I'm
who knows if
easily
that's
fooled by
Spike
things.
writing that in to make it a little bit of a racist statement of we don't know how long Mookie's worked there. Like, is Mookie worked there 2 months and he's like, bitch, I'm not your son. Like, don't bring me into this. I don't know. Like,
But at the same time, he probably sees a lot of people in that neighborhood because he talked about how he's raised so many
yeah,
people.
I would
on their
imagine
food.
not. I would imagine Mookie's been there a long time. And I took that as Sal being genuine in that moment. So I don't know why I said that.
But it
yeah,
could have been
it's,
some random
it
thing as
ends
well.
it ends super messy. Your other protagonist throws a trash can into that place that like I told you, for 90%, maybe 95% of this movie, we are built to love Sal's and love Sal and really just hate Pino and wonder what's going to happen. Like you it's kind of building for like Pino's going to murder somebody by the end of this movie, or like Pino, like really Pino has almost nothing involved in the climax of the film when it feels like he's going to be
Yeah.
the tipping point through the majority of the movie. Yeah, it ends fucking messy, and I think that's Spike saying that this issue is fucking messy, and I don't know if there's direct answers to it. It's all a crazy gray area, like we just said. The issue of civil rights is obviously there is no gray area. It's a yes or no. It's a true or false. It's the road to how we get to everyone in complete peace and harmony. That is, I think, the discussion here, which why it ends on those two polarizing quotes, one from Martin Luther King and one from Malcolm X, about how it should be peaceful protests and positivity all the way. And then Malcolm's quote of like, well, you know, if we gotta fight though, we gotta fight. Like self-defense isn't, I don't really consider that violence if it's self-defense. So I, like we said, this whole movie is about that dichotomy, and I shout out once again to Ozzie Davis, DeMare, Danny Aiello, Sal, Giancarlo Esposito for bugging out, Spike Lee as Mookie, probably his best acting performance ever. John Turturro is one of those dudes that you hate that character, which means that John Turturro is doing a really good job. Bill Nunn as Radio Raheem, that fucking monologue about love and hate.
Yeah. I was so caught off guard when he started talking because it seemed earlier on that he was mute and he just had a radio. Or maybe if he's not mute, he just doesn't talk. He's just known for blasting his boombox, and then randomly he starts talking. I'm like, wait, Radio Raheem talks? And then he goes on the speech about the love and hate, like you mentioned, which was cool. They had a lot of moments where it was like, hey, let's just talk to the camera and try and get something. Like they had the racism montage where everybody's just saying shit about each other.
And that's a frequent Spike Lee joint moment, I would say. I don't know if I can't picture a moment of that in Bamboozled, but also Bamboozled is a whole other weird thing.
Yeah,
it's Spike Lee's experimental film. We covered Bamboozled. Go find it on the channel if you like.
Yeah.
So you want to do final thoughts?
Before we do that, just one other moment that was random as hell in the movie. Mookie goes to meet up with Rosie, and while he's supposed to be working, and they decide, despite her constantly saying they wouldn't, they start doing the nasty, and this dude starts like rubbing ice on parts of her. And he's
only ice, like Spike never undresses. They don't do the nasty.
Well, I thought it was implied that they were either about to or whatever, but yeah, you're right. But he starts rubbing ice on her, and he's like, thank God for elbows. Thank God for kneecaps. And I'm like, I'm typing out, what the fuck is this weird ass thing? They're just like, thank God for the right nipple. Thank God for the left nipple. I'm like, agreed, but still, what is this scene? So that was random as hell, just thrown into the movie. Just thank God for body parts. Not
thank
sure
God for Rosie Perez.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Agreed in this case, but why is this scene here?
In all cases.
In all cases. Well, I guess knees and elbows are fine. My knees and elbows, mainly knees, give me a lot of pain. You may have heard a pop a good 2 minutes ago. That was my knee.
Oh yeah, we all heard it.
So yeah, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. So on to the final thoughts. I had, like I said, turned out I had seen the movie. I can tell why I didn't remember much, or rather, why I didn't rewatch it often, because things like what we've just been talking about. That which it's meant to be uncomfortable, like you said, with the whole dichotomy and what should you do. But it's a fantastic movie. It's a fantastic movie, like you said. Great acting by everybody in the film. Thank you for bringing it back up.
Yeah, man. I loved this film in this viewing. It jumped up so many notches in my book. With this one, I just didn't remember how incredible everybody is as a group. And it makes everybody is so good, but everybody being so good just rises it up even another notch. Because there's there just feels like no flat points. And maybe that's just a huge credit to Spike as the director. Credit to obviously to all the actors.
Yeah.
But
I definitely deserves a lot of credit.
I had an incredible time watching this film, and I had a really fun time doing our discussion on it today.
And I thought it was. I also thought it was nice that the film was 2 hours instead of 3, like it was set up to be. You're like 3 hour Oscar worthy thing. That's all, like 2 hours.
Well, that may have been when I almost said it. There's one that I've almost picked for 4 weeks in a row. That is 3 hours.
Oh, I believe you.
So
I believed that this would be 3 hours. So
one day we'll do it. One day we'll do it.
We'll do it, but it won't be.
What are we doing next week? Yeah,
hey, same page and all that, right? Yeah, it won't be next week because next week we're going back to the anime thing for a little bit more lighthearted of a film, but it's not a whole TV show. It's just a film. It's called Red Line. It's a racing film.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Red Line. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. All right. So that said, you want to see our other stuff like Bamboozled and other stuff, check out the playlist and everything on the channel. You can also find me elsewhere on YouTube on the Whatever We Want podcast with new episodes every week, every Wednesday. I do that with
Every
a good friend. A good friend of mine named Super Jazz. And,
Super Jazz.
yeah, we talk about a lot of things on that channel. Just whatever we want. That's why it's called that. Anyway, I also have a Twitter and Twitch at Giotavi. That is Giotavi. Come on in, stop on by. What's an Instagram? I don't really know. Bill, you got anything you want to say to folks?
No.
All right. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching. Do the right thing and come back and subscribe. Have a good one.
I like that.
Adios.